What is going on, Sports Card Fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on a USMNT roster breakdown and a card market perspective. So essentially, I'll be going through people I think are undervalued, overvalued, and just kind of talking through the roster at the moment. Right now, we are about to play Jamaica. I'm recording this on Sunday, so fingers crossed. We'll see how that plays out. But going forward, I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had with the USMNT because, of course, we have World Cup qualifiers that start early in September, so just a little over a month away at this point. And then beyond that, of course, if we make it, we do have the World Cup next year, so that will be a ton of fun, hopefully. So hopping on over to eBay, the first person I'm going to go with is Josh Sargent in terms of people I think is underrated. Basically comparing him to the other striker alternatives, I feel like he's just easily put underrated, and I understand it. He isn't scoring a ton of goals. He plays for Werder Bremen, who's now in Bundesliga 2. He hasn't gotten a loan out of there, so essentially people aren't going to be able to watch him in a high league this year, and they're not sure if he will be our starter going forward. So there is a little bit of skepticism. However, personally, I think he is easily the best striker in terms of fit for our lineup. Our lineup is one that, honestly, we have a really good midfield. We have good wingers. We just need a striker, and so we can pretend like we have one. We can throw Daryl DK in there. We can throw Zardes in there. We can do whatever. But I think Sargent's the best in the sense that he gets the most out of everyone else, which is kind of what we want anyways. Everyone else, that's the good players. Like Reyna, Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Musa, whoever. Those are the good players. Not whoever we're going to fill in at striker. So if you want to get the most out of those players, you want a striker that can kind of, bring the ball up with them, link up with the others, and just involve them in the attack and make the most out of our team and the possession style that we want to play. And Sargent just fits that mold for me. Looking here on eBay, it's hard to really see the deals, but if you go on over to the sold section, there you will kind of see what I'm talking about. So if I'm going to go on ended recently, I'm going to type in a lot. I'd recommend if you're ever going to buy, a good bit of 2018 Optic or Donruss or whatever, just do it in a lot, honestly, because these auctions go extremely low. It's just kind of how it is, because there's just not enough people that want to buy a mass. Usually people want to buy like one card, and so you might end up paying like $5 to $10 for a Donruss or something when you could be paying like $1 or $2. That's just kind of how it is. So looking down here, we can see what I'm talking about a little bit. So right here, this is a big steal in my opinion. A lot of 6 Josh Sargents for essentially $2 to $3 each. I think that's a really good play. Now, of course, I'm always skeptical. Anyone that sends raw cards to Probstein or something, if you know how to get a consignment place to sell your raw cards, you probably also know what cards are actually worth keeping in good condition. So usually I just assume that those are probably 8s or 9s, maybe at most. So take that with a grain of salt. But I will say, just looking around here, you can find $2 to $3 optics. And if we look at the sold listings, now you might think that the optic is pretty heavily printed, but if I look here at the sold listings for 2018 Optic Josh Sargent, there's not a ton. And you can see there are some lots, but it's not a mass amount. So honestly, given that you can find these for $2 to $3 and there's not that many on eBay, I think it's a really good play. Alternatively, someone that I think is overrated at this point is Daryl DK. I was a big fan. I understand potential to be a great player for us, but again, like I said, strikers like one of our worst positions. So to try to speculate on strikers, especially if you're going to overpay for them, it's very tough. So here you can see for Bowman, that's kind of the go-to rookie. His base is $90, and for the Topps Pitch Prodigies one, his base seems to be about $30 or $40. And if we look on the sold listings, of course, this was released just last year instead of 3 years ago, so there will be more sales on eBay because of that. But there are more sales here than for the Josh Sargent. Now, is there more pop for Sargent? I think, of course. There has to, especially when the Bowman is so exclusive, and that's really why it kind of holds its premium, because there wasn't a ton of them made. But then again, I really couldn't imagine paying $90 for a Daryl DK Bowman when you could go out and, maybe you'd have to snipe some bids, but you could get like 30 Josh Sargents for that. And I just think that that's a much, much better play, especially when you consider that, in Berhalter's eyes, Sargent is a striker. He's the starter. So you're playing catch up with DK, and he's already a little bit older than most of our prospects that are coming through, and he's still in the MLS. So, I mean, there's still a lot of steps that have to be made for someone like this before they're actually going to get that boom. So I would just wait until those steps start to be made to kind of make your move. Then another option in terms of someone that I am just very high on, and that is Tim Weah. Looking here at his 2018 optic, a lot of 2018 optic rookies for the USMNT, but here another example with Weah. If we go down again, we'll take a look at a lot because that's just going to give us a good perspective. Here, if we look, I mean, you know, 3 Donruss for $1 or maybe $5 after shipping, a full lot of 9 optic for $5 a piece. I mean, essentially what you're seeing here, I mean, geez, like $1.50 a piece for the Tim Weah Topps Chrome. I mean, there are some definite deals to be had out here for Tim Weah. Looking at, you know, about $3 to $5 a card. Again, nothing too crazy. And if we look at the sold listings, 43 total. And if we look at the amount listed available, 19 total. Now, I guess this is lots, to be fair. This isn't just the regular card. There are going to be more of that in just a single form. But here, I mean, 200 listings. Again, I just think it's so low. If we go and compare this to someone I think is going to be overrated, but maybe at some point turns it around, that is going to be Conrad De La Fuente. So I'm going to type in Topps Conrad, and this will give us kind of all of his listings. And as you can see currently, I mean, most of his stuff is listed for about the same price as Weah, maybe priced at like $3 to $5 a card. But as you can tell here, there's just so much product. There's endless product, and there will be endless product open, and there will be more singles to come. So at the moment, people are paying probably $3 to $5 per card for Conrad, while at the same time you got Tim Weah, who is essentially just a few years more progressed, but also at a higher level, and also currently with our starting team. He usually comes off the bench, but is almost on the precipice of being in the starting lineup, depending on where Gio Reyna plays. Personally, I see Reyna more as a central midfielder, more of an attacking midfielder, and if he ever gets moved in there, I think that Weah could easily be the right wing that replaces him over there. And given that I could get someone that could easily be a replacement in the lineup compared to Conrad, who's a little bit more of a prospect and more expensive, I would much rather take Tim Weah every day of the week. Now, I know that kind of goes against what people think typically in other sports. You know, the younger, the better, the more potential of being a star. I get that. But in soccer, there's just so many variables. There's not as many that break through. I feel like with basketball, people get this perception that it's very easy to pick which players are going to be good and then they're going to boom. But it's very niche. I mean, in basketball, it's one of the few times where you can just easily tell that someone's a standout star and head and shoulders above the rest. Soccer, it's very, very hard. And even if they are, simple injuries can just take them back to a point at which they are no longer of that caliber. So personally, I think that Tim Weah is a much better buy than someone like Conrad at the moment. Another buy that I'm going to talk about here, personally, I will say I do have some of these cards. I don't plan on selling them anytime soon because I think they're amazing value, but Gio Reyna 2019 Topps Museum, more of a high-end thing here and pretty niche. I do think Gio Reyna in general is kind of a buy because I saw a Topps Chrome PSA 8 sell for like 35 or 40 bucks, and I have not seen anything that low since that card's been released. So I would say, just generally speaking, Gio Reyna is a great play. I think Topps Museum 2019 is incredible. So giving a peek here, of course they are a bit expensive, but I mean, just looking, there's an out of 50 RPA down here, horizontal, but you can pay $650 or best offer, which isn't too bad. And then looking up a bit more, there's a numbered out of 49 vertical RPA that I have thrown offers at. And I mean, honestly, it's just when I look at this, and these cards typically are going for about $400 to $500. Again, whenever I just compare backwards to someone like Daryl DK's Bowman, again, pretty exclusive, like I understand that, but whenever I give it a peek, you know, we're seeing that numbered sell for $325, we're seeing another numbered sell for $320, we're seeing, and this is just for, you know, numbered cards that are not autoed and of someone that's much older and at a lower level than Gio Reyna. And this is just insane to me. I don't understand who's paying, you know, $200-300 for a Daryl DK numbered when Gio Reyna RPAs are out there for damn near the same price. And if I look up Reyna Auto 2019, you'll see that this is essentially the only thing he has. Like if you look up Luka Auto, whatever year, 2018, look up whatever insert basketball rookie you want. There's a ton of them. And with this, there's what, 17 listings, and how many are actually of that? Maybe like 10. There is this DACA, which is I think it's either Chinese or Japanese, I think it's Japanese, version of the Dortmund kind of team set, and that has some autos. It's kind of nice. I mean, it looks cool. I think the picture in this is just really funny. Like on the left-hand side, he looks like such a goddamn kid. But just generally speaking, I mean, when you can get these RPAs for close to $500, again, big money, but when you compare that to like Bowman, Daryl DK, or honestly numbered stuff of any player on the team, like even Josh Sargent stuff, his Aquas would go for a little over 100 there for a bit, and that's just Josh Sargent numbered stuff. This is literally, in my opinion, the best kid to come through the USMNT probably ever. Will he play out to be that? Who knows? And then finally, just talking about two people that I wouldn't be buying, but I do understand the hype, is Caden Clark. Personally, I mean, it makes sense. His rookie is the tops now. I don't know what year it is. I think it counts as a 2020. There it is. So we have $75 a piece for that, about $70 down here. I mean, overall, like, again, just paying $70 for a numbered out at 2100 base card. I think Caden Clark, while I love him and while I think he has potential, I think it's one of the more overrated cards in terms of USMNT corners. However, I do believe the kid has a ton of potential, and obviously with the move to Leipzig coming up, I mean, you know, it kind of plays into the price. I'm guessing that's why it's overvalued, so I do understand it from that perspective. But again, I just don't think that buying these players for a hyped price that aren't even on the national team yet is just not the best way to go about it, because not only in the short term is it going to be hard to get them at that level, also in the short term, whenever people get into USMNT, they're not going to be looking at the second string players. They're going to be seeing the guys that are playing, starting, doing great things, and that's who they're going to be interested in. And I don't think that's Caden Clark right now. And then finally, another player much in the same vein of Caden Clark is Cade Cowell. Here, looking up his Bowman. Again, these Bowman are just so hard to find. That's why they end up being so expensive. But just looking around, I mean, his cheapest Bowman is $100. Like, that is so silly. Like, man, you know, I love Cade Cowell, but again, along the same lines of Daryl DK, where if you just view him in this one lens, like, he looks really good, but if you view him as a complete player, he's just nowhere near that yet. And so to be paying this absurd of a premium for a guy that's still in the MLS, that hasn't even played for the USMNT, that hasn't proven himself holistically, it's just a tough sell for me. Personally, I could never end up doing this. I mean, again, like, look here. $500 or best offer. It has 20 watchers for now to 150. Just a numbered Bowman. Again, whenever I compare stuff like this to that Gio Reyna, it makes no sense how this gets here, but here we are, alas. I mean, the market doesn't have to make sense. It just operates the way it does, and we are just simply riding that wave. So that was a fun time breaking down the prices and kind of where we are right now with the USMNT. It'll be interesting to see going forward how this all plays out. But personally, I mean, you know, my long-term view on the USMNT, I think there's going to be a ton of hype and potential and just love of the sport that ends up flowing through this generation of talent, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to let me know, would love to hear it down below. People for the USMNT you think are overrated, underrated, would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully have a wonderful day, and peace.